headed north through the dull skies of Tokyo as the rainy season began. Its great river flows slowly through the low mountains and countryside. Teshio River. It is the largest trout spey river in Japan, flowing through northern Hokkaido. Its section is about 150 kilometers long, and there are many species of trout salmon that inhabit the river. There are only small towns and no large cities in the watershed, while many of Japan's major rivers have large cities in their watersheds. This is a very precious and wonderful environment. On the other hand, it is also a difficult river. We have been planning to fly fish this river for 5 years, but have always had to cancel at the last minute. The weather is unpredictable, and the river can easily become muddy when it rains. In addition, dams on tributaries often release muddy water, and once that happens, it stays that way for a while. Contrary to the forecast, it was raining over Asahikawa. We drove about 100 kilometers to Nayoro. The rain kept coming and going. Thick clouds were hanging over the distant scenery. When we arrived at Teshio River, the river was already muddy. I had a bad premonition, but the color of the water was still just barely fishable. Soon after, a downpour came and the river quickly turned the color of mud. In past years, we would have moved to a different region as soon as the river turned like this, but we decided to stay in this area even under those conditions. If we moved now, we would never have a chance to fly fish on the Teshio River. We spent the next few days going back and forth along the 150 kilometers trout spey section, looking for a spot where the water was a little less muddy. At this time of year in Nayoro, the sun rises at 3:46 a.m., sets at 7:18 p.m., and the day length is 15.5 hours. If we include the time of twilight and dusk, we can fly fish for 17 hours. We spent most of that time on the river, dealing with sudden weather changes and muddy water. We did nothing but fish, went nowhere but the river, and ate lunch boxes from a local convenience store chain called Seiko Mart for all 3 meals. This year was the year we wanted to realize our 5-year goal of spey fishing in the vast currents of the Teshio River, and to meet a single fish. The next day, the clouds were still there, but the rain had stopped. The golden morning sun shone through the clouds, illuminating the fresh greenery. The great river was flowing torrentially. It was an overwhelming view. Anglers who fish in the Teshio River always say, "It's not that fishable. It's not a river where you can catch that many fish." But why does it attract so many anglers? One of the answers seems to be right in front of my eyes. In the afternoon, the clouds cleared, and the sky turned blue. It was cold when cloudy, and hot when sunny. A few hundred meters of a run before us. The other side of the river was so far away that no matter how hard we cast, we couldn't reach even half of the river's width. There it was, the Teshio River we had been waiting for. We enjoyed our session with local anglers in such a wonderful scenery. Some of us had not seen each other for a long time, and some of us were new to each other. We chose a large, cloudily colored fly that stood out in the ground, and cast and stepped down repeatedly. The reel reversed vigorously, and a loud screaming sound was heard. The fish's initial speed was quite fast. At first, I thought it was a good-sized rainbow trout, but after the first run, it easily came back to shore. We didn't lift the fish out of the water and quickly unhooked it underwater. Here in Hokkaido, it is forbidden to fish for cherry salmon and cham salmon in the river. The fact that we caught one fish means that there must be a school of them in here. It was a nice run, but we decided to move on. Upstream, the water was a little muddy due to the dam releasing. However, it was not impossible to fish. If I could catch a Japanese day, the trout must have seen my flies. The weather was bad, the river was in bad condition, and the fish were inactive. We always make excuses and try to turn our eyes away from the fact that we are not good at fishing. However, everything is our own problem. Since we have decided to stay here, we just have to do my best. Unfortunately, we couldn't get any response from the trout in the main stream through several days of fishing. That was our current limit. We felt as if we were being told, "You are not at that level yet." the Nyoro and the Kenbuchi rivers are unaffected by dam releases. On the last day, we finally gave up fishing in the vast main stream and headed for an area without muddy water. The river was such a size that we could easily drop a fly just on the opposite bank with a switch rod and a double tapered line set up. It was not the vast Teshio River we had dreamed of, but we hoped to see a good fish, at least on the last day. The river answered us. We made plans to return here again in the fall. We don't know what the weather will be like or what the river conditions will be like, but we want to try trout spey on the Teshio River next time. It is surrounded by autumn leaves.